And for the final round of the Spanish F4 Championship, it would be only right to get us to the home of Spanish motorsport at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. I'm going to be Kai Pacini, and I will be talking you through all of the racing action this weekend. Still, 3 races to take us away to what will be a great climax to what has been an outstanding season in Spanish F4 history. Now, we do already have a champion crowned, and do remember that was last time out in Jerez there with Thomas Straubing in his Griffin Core machinery taking home the championship with an 127-point gap back to René Lammers in second position. Now, René Lammers, he's not so easily done by in second position, and will be looking to try and fend off that place as quickly as possible with the fast Belgian of Ian Eichmans in behind him in third position in the championship right now. Eichmans, not so long ago, picked up his maiden race victory and podium in the Spanish F4 Championship. The winner of the Richard Mille Young Talent Academy shootout was actually able to get himself some great points and great results as well. And the man that was able to see that from down in the pit lane, he's down in the pit lane again this weekend, and he'll be bringing us the latest from the ground. Alex Garcia, cars are on the grid, drivers are ready. Are you ready for the final round of Spanish F4?
I think we were born ready, Kai. Motorsport fans, we are always ready to see these cars on track. We're always ready to see action. We're always ready to see this man right here, Thomas Straubing, who wants to take that record away from Nico Ratzolov. We are ready to see, of course, Jan Prioski fighting for that second place in the championship. We are ready to see René Lammers trying to recover from far, far behind on the grid. And why not? We might be ready to see a driver like Ian Eichmans trying to surprise us once again, which is what we like to see. We like to be surprised, I think.
Yeah, surprises aplenty, and that's exactly what you should expect. Expect the unexpected here from Spanish F4, and you will always walk away with a smile on your face after watching this action. Front row consisting of Straubing and Piriovski. Straubing already taken home the championship, so Piriovski trying to take the challenge. One driver that's always been up at the front end. Fortune hasn't always been on his side. Maybe sometimes getting himself into a little bit of trouble. Renault Franco is starting third. Alex, I'm interested to see what he is able to do.
I think he's been showing flashes of very, very good speed. We've seen some races that have been fantastic by Renault Franco. And we know that he's quick. We know he's aggressive when he has to be. Maybe unluckier than he ought to be, than he deserved to be. But seeing him right up there with the big guys in this season is always a nice thing to see. I am more interested, far more interested in whatever happens with Jan Prioski on that race start. I was talking to our co-commentator in the Spanish version with Santi, and I was telling him I talked to Thomas Straubing about this, and he was saying, look, Jan's been struggling the whole season, and he knows that the rest of his rivals are very, very good at race starts, and he's trying to outdo us all. He's trying to be perfect. And as you know, Kai, when you try to be absolutely perfect down to the last thousandth of a second, you take a big risk. You run the risk of going off the cliff, and that's basically what's been happening to Jan Prioski, who maybe wants to dial it down a little bit this time because he's fighting for a runner-up position, and being second in the championship, I mean, is always better than being third, so he'll want to be maybe a bit safer today.
As they say, nobody is ever perfect, and team personnel are now clearing the grid as we get ready for the race start. Alex, thank you very much for your input once again, and I'm sure we'll catch up with you later on in this race and in the proceedings as well. But as everyone makes their way off the grid, that leaves the cars only on the circuit, and the drivers with their own thoughts as well. They all get ready for this race start. The marshals just doing the best they can to get everybody off the grid in a timely fashion as well. As soon as all of the personnel are cleared off the grid, we can get ready for racing action. Now qualifying, I'm sure no surprise, put Thomas Straubing on pole position with Jan Piriovski alongside him on the front row. The Griffin core pairing between the two of them. We've seen them multiple times on the front row. We actually saw the exact same last time out. But Piriovsky hoping to have no struggles off the line this time. We get away for the formation lap, and drivers will instantly start their pre-race ritual and get their heat cycle started in the tyres. It's Straubing on the front row with Piriovsky alongside him from Franco and Costa. Eichmanns and Rieber on the third row from Montero, Figali, then Carras and Nathan Ty rounding out the top 10. Now, I was talking to Nathan Ty just a few days ago, a driver that I grew up racing with personally and a good friend myself, fellow British racing driver. And Nathan Ty said his goals for this weekend were to walk away with at least a podium in one of the races. Now, is that going to be possible? Does he have the pace for it? We'll have to wait and see. He's starting down 10th in the grid, but anything can happen here. This is the Circuit de Catalunya, and it always throws a spanner in the works. So maybe we could see Nathan Ty crawling his way up the order. The other of the Carras siblings will start from 11th on the grid from Fiorentino. Then Coronel will start from 13th from Kantan, Petrovic, Kota, Schwartz, Pinera, Kutskov, and Mickey Blascos from Onlau Motorsport will round out the top 20. Emma Felbermeyer will be just starting outside of that on what is going to be the 11th row of the grid, with Alfio Spina alongside her. From Panetta, Dobrzanivsky, Schaufler, Gjonovic, Bazdarica, Lammers, Higgins and Suslov rounding out the top 30. Just outside of that is going to be Jacobi, Tunion, Grotta and Rico Bono rounding out our 34 car grid here for the final round and the final dance, the last dance you may call it, of the Spanish F4 Championship for 2025. We've mentioned it a few times before. Straubing looking to get that win record in the Spanish F4 Championship. But will he be able to get that on his shoulders? That's the question. The current win record that is currently held, as we mentioned, by another driver that has been very successful throughout the formulas of racing. So trying his best to get more race victories. It's going to be difficult. But what can he do? Thomas Straubing lines up from pole position. Alongside him, his teammate, Jan Piriovsky. Can he jump himself into the lead going down into turn 1? We'll see if it's going to be possible. But everybody else in the field just about lining up. You may be sat there thinking, well, this is taking ages for the drivers to get on the grid. And well, that is because we have 17 rows of drivers. Not 17 drivers, that's 34 drivers that are taking to the track all at the same time. So this camera shot down to turn 1 is going to show all of the action unfolding. And chaos aplenty, I would expect. We keep one eye on the championship battle, and we also keep one eye on the circuit. But for these drivers, they'll be keeping both eyes on the lights as the lights on the gantry reach to 5, and we are racing here at Barcelona for the first time this weekend. The first of 3. It's a great launch there from Straubing as he is able to get away well, and down into turn 1 we go. 5 wide in the background. Drivers left and right. Defensive goes Eichmann as he cuts across his contenders of Costa. Lock up in the background from one of the Red Bull Junior drivers. Was that Schwartz that's had a problem? As we saw a lot of smoke go up in the background. One driver having to go the outside of the bollards and rejoin the circuit. That is Christopher Figali, it looked like it was. So the number 48 of Christopher Figali will drop down a couple positions. But 3 wide in the mid-pack we go. Getting involved in the battle is Coronel as he tries to make his way past Carras. Carras fending off well for now. But out in front, it's pretty bog standard. Thomas Straubing takes the lead from Jan Piriovsky in second. Ian Eichmanns, though, he's been able to clutch on to that third position and jump Renault Franco off the line. Franco, though, is not going to back down just yet, and he will attack as soon as the opportunity is presented to him. If I know anything about Renault Franco, it's that he will not give up a position. On the inside, though, in the background, that's going to be the move on the inside from El Figali, as Figali will get himself up a place. So Christopher Figali will make his way past Noah Montero. So Montero momentarily dropped down to 8th. Christopher Figali got that move done. And yes, he did. There's the confirmation on your timing screens. Down the home straight, we flow. And out in front, everything looking very tame for the time being. Periovsky just latching onto the back of his teammate for now. Eichmann's not feeling the pressure. Franco, a little bit unsettled under braking there down into turn 1. As we saw a bit of a hitch on the rear end. But managing to control it and clearly not affecting him too much for the number 11. Franco's going to have to get that under control and keep an eye on that if he doesn't want to evolve into anything bigger. Using all the track available to them into turn 4. A big lockup from one of the drivers up at the front end. A little bit further down, we see some racing action, and it's an attempt down the inside from the 39 of Panetta as he tries to make his way past Emma Felbermeyer. Felbermeyer clearly not having it as she holds on to the position well. There's Ian Eichmann's. His first ever season competing in single-seater racing. And what a season it has been for him. He finds himself 3rd in the championship with 1 win and 9 podiums total. Looking to make it 10 podiums here, but on the inside, Figali is not waiting around as he gets the move done. That was a brave, committed move on the inside line. Mature body up beyond his years for his racecraft for Christopher Figali, as he'll get that one done on Matthias Rieber. So Rieber down into 7th. Franco also losing out, spitting off in the background. That was the number 19 that finds himself in trouble. That was Matthias Rieber, of what I can only guess was trying to make his way back past Figali. He spat off into the gravel. I took one look to the timing screen, and instantly one driver was off the circuit. Left and right on the inside. Committed to the overtake, tried for the squeeze, but it didn't quite work out. Nathan Tighe just picked up a position there. So the 46 of Tighe will gain a place. And into the pit lane. Renault Franco's in the pit lane. So Renault Franco is into the pit lane. What was the problem there for the MP Motorsport driver? We'll have to see if we can get a replay of what caused the reason for Renault Franco to pull into the pit lane. We'll get that replay very shortly. But for the time being, it's Thomas Straubing out in front. Periovsky, the faster of the 2 teammates. Actually, the fastest driver on the circuit. Even so, he's still not able to get past his teammate just yet. Let's get a replay of the race start here. It was a perfect jump off the line from both the Griffin Core drivers, as Periovsky was just able to slot into 2nd position. But Ian Eichmann's found that outside line. He found the gap, slides across, cutting off all his competitors, cutting off the options, and it was a perfect start from Eichmann's. Let's see the move there from Figali, and that was also the move that was done there on Renault Franco by Miguel Costa. So Costa got the move done. That was darting off the track and having the issue for what was going to be Matthias Rieber. So Rieber went off the circuit, but I didn't quite see why we had the number 11 pull into the pit lane. Obviously, we saw Renault Franco there in the background where Rieber went off. Franco just pulled into the pit lane, but evidently there wasn't any contact between the two of them. So why did Franco feel the need to pull into the pit lane? I'm sure it's a question that will be answered later on, as Franco still in the pit lane. He hasn't emerged back out just yet. And that is not a good sign. Unfortunately, that could be the telltale signs of a retirement even for Renault Franco, which would be such a shame to see after a great qualifying and a great start as well. Through our picture, they roar. These cars nearly breaking the sound barrier as you can hear them fly past the cameras. Beautiful pieces of machinery and exactly the right way to develop a young driver and start off their Formula career. Spanish F4, it goes global and it offers so much global talent as well. Franco, visor still down, his head was in his hands, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, but that might be a retirement there for the Dutchman. Such a shame to see there for Renault Franco. He's currently 5th in the driver's standings. But if Juan Cota is scoring a good amount of points, he isn't for the time being as he finds himself down in 14th. But even Nathan Tai is on the back of that, looking to try and fend off and also fight for 5th in the championship if possible. Mathematically, it is possible. But nevertheless, it all goes down to what the race result is at the end of the day. And circulating round we still go. Thomas Strauven out in front. René Lammers in second. The two drivers, their pace difference isn't really much between the two of them. But Thomas Strauven, with 5 extra race victories to his name. It's 9 race wins over the course of this season for the Belgian. And René Lammers has not been able to compete with that sort of domination. But you can't complain either. It's still 4 race victories for Thomas Strauven. Sorry, for René Lammers so far this season. René Lammers being second in the championship right now. The driver second on the track, Jan Periowski, is a little bit further down the order in 4th. Only 3 race wins to his name and 8 podiums. Double that, and you've got the podiums of Strauven. 16 podiums so far. And Strauven just still navigating his way around the circuit. His last race victory came to him in race 2 in Valencia. Sorry, race 1 in Valencia. Race 1 in Valencia, scoring 25 points for the full point finish. Race 2, he also won. 18 points was awarded his way for the shortened race. Obviously a little bit of a different starting order. You may have been questioning how we got our starting grid, as it is true that Formula 4 did not go out for their qualifying session earlier on due to some technical difficulties. So the starting grid for this race was determined based off the free practice results that we've had with all of the drivers competing in. And even then, still not many surprises in terms of the order. With Thomas Strauven being the most common of them up at the front end, as we've seen it so many times this season. The number 99 with 9 wins. But with the way that things are going, it looks like it could be 10. Jan Periowski, though, he is competing with the pace of his teammate that's been put down onto the circuit. But nothing quite substantial enough to actually cut down that gap. In terms of the Griffin Core team, they are leading the team standings right now by 22 points over MP Motorsport. As we've just had our sister championship of Euro Cup 3 that have just been racing on this circuit. The track conditions will be a little bit better for the Spanish F4 drivers, as fresh rubber and track temperatures will be heightened just a mere amount because of the recent racing. So drivers may be finding that there's a little more grip than they had earlier on in the day, but the overcast clouds not allowing any sunlight to be beaming down onto the track that we often see here in Catalonia. But MP Motorsport, as we mentioned, second in the team standings right now. They've already taken home the title in the Euro Cup 3 campaign. They'll be looking to do the same here in Spanish F4. But with a 22-point gap to Griffin Core Racing, it's not going to be easy. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it very much is when you have two dominant drivers in the form of Thomas Straubing and Jan Piriowski. As around the final couple of bends we go now. Through turn 9, down the straight towards turn 10. Just look at the amount of speed that these drivers carry out of turn 9 completely flat, hanging on for dear life out of turn 9 of these drivers as the car is on absolute rails, you may see, sliding sideways, trying to minimize the amount of speed lost and scrubbed off on corner exit. And that's why these are some of the greatest drivers in the world right now, especially in the junior formulas. Nathan Ty in your picture right now. This is the battle for 7th position. Andrei Petrovic just a little bit too far back to even think about applying pressure onto the back of the Rodin Motorsport car. But around the final bend, down the home straight, we nearly find ourselves at half race distance already. Ian Eichmann, he's just about shaked off Miguel Costa now. As Miguel Costa gaining a few positions, one driver tumbling down the order. Who was that? Not René Lammers, but it's Victor Dobrzansky. So Victor Dobrzansky pulls into the pit lane. That is the number 2 as well of Victor Cantan. So Cantan pulls into the pit lane for a fresh set of tyres. You don't see this very often. Was there a potential puncture here for Victor Cantan? He gets back out onto the circuit. We'll try and have a look at the tyres. Another pit stop here for the number 32 of Dobrzansky. So Dobrzansky into the pit lane as well. Was that the number 11 of Renault Franco that we saw coming out the pit lane? Surely not. Surely that can't have been Renault Franco that was pulling out of the pit lane, or are my eyes deceiving me? Either way, we're at half race distance now, just about, and drivers pulling into the pit lane and getting a fresh set of boots on their cars. Being held a little bit longer than he would have been wanting is Dobrzansky. The T-Code team clearly not happy with something to let him go just yet. And Dobrzansky looking to struggle with dumping the clutch. He's being held by the team. We'll have to try and think what the problem is there. Either way, the racing action on circuit is on your right-hand side, and Dobrzansky will now rejoin the pack. Just rejoining a lot further back than he would have been hoping for. T-Code pulling their other car into the pit lane. Into the pits comes the number 5. Are the teams feeling that the tyre wear is just so bad that they have no choice but to change tyres? So the number 6, sorry, not the number 5, has pulled into the pit lane of Alex Pinera. So Pinera in the pit lane. So is the number 70 of Bogonovic. A lot of cars pulling into the pit lane here. Teams clearly not feeling that these hand-cooked tyres are capable of taking them to the end of race distance. Now my question is, looking up at the front end of the field, will we see these drivers start to think about pitting? So up at the front end, Thomas Straubing, he'll be calling the shots right now. He'll be controlling the pace. The pit lane open on the left-hand side. Neither of the top 2 opting for it. And down the home straight we go. Teams clearly scrambling in the pit lane. But no problems just yet for Thomas Straubing. So still leading the way. Petrovic pulls into the pit lane, is it? Into the pits. Yeah, Andrei Petrovic is into the pit lane now for T-Code at Mog Racing. we're going to go down to our pit lane correspondent of Alex Garcia. Alex, you're down there in the pit lane. A lot of cars darting into the pits and us sitting at home wondering what's happening.
Exactly, Kai. I know. I was hearing you struggling to see why this team, why Technicar and all the drivers, of course, are stopping in the pit lane. Now, this is a very important thing. As you know, we had some technical issues this morning which prevented us from running qualifying 1 normally. And normally, qualifying 1 would have decided the starting order for race 1 and race 2. That would have been the second fastest lap of race 1 that would have decided, second fastest lap of qualifying 1 that would have decided the grid for tomorrow. Now the regulation has changed for this weekend since we had a cancelled qualifying session, which means that the fastest laps in this race are deciding the starting order for race 2, which means that those drivers who are not fighting for points, they're just stopping to change tires and put on new boots and hopefully get a good starting position for tomorrow. And this is insane. I don't think I had ever seen anything like that in F4.
Well, in my 6 years of commentating, Alex, I have never seen anything like this. Let me just get the record straight. Let me ask you this for clarification once again. What we are seeing right now, we have a race going on, but also a qualifying session at the same time.
Pretty much, exactly. At least for those drivers who are not fighting for points, they've turned this into a qualifying session. Hence, why some of the teams were stopping their drivers from going out on track while on traffic.
Well, thank you very much for the insight, Alex, and this is definitely a first that I've seen. Alex Garcia, our pit lane reporter, down on the ground and giving us the latest updates as well. But you've heard it right there. You can see drivers weaving left and right. They'll be trying to get some heat into their new tyres, and this is going to be causing a nightmare for the drivers in front. We've just seen Ian Eichmann's trying to cut his way through the pack and deal with the drivers that are slowing down and trying to find fresh air for their qualifying hot laps in air quotations, as clearly teams and drivers feeling it's more optimal to prioritize the starting grid position for race 2 over the actual finishing result, which I do understand to a certain extent. If you're not in a point scoring position and you're not looking to be taking home crucial championship points at the end of this race, why wouldn't you come into the pit lane? You may as well come into the pit lane, get a fresh set of tyres, which we've exactly seen here from the number 3 of Coronel. So Coronel comes into the pit lane, the Red Bull Junior colours under the MP Motorsport Visionary. You'll come in for a fresh set of tyres on his car. Now, it's not just the race leader that we need to keep an eye on now. It's every single driver in the field. We're looking for that purple icon on the left-hand side of your screen. It's currently worn as a badge of honour by Thomas Straubing, but with drivers darting into the pit lane all the time, any of them could walk away with this fastest lap here. And it's not about the fastest lap points, it's not about the merit. Well, it very much is about the merit, actually, as this will decide the qualifying order for the second race tomorrow. Well, the first race tomorrow, but the second race overall. This is absolute chaos and pandemonium. Before the race, we said it on the grid, word for word, expect the unexpected. And this is exactly what I meant. Something like this. A qualifying session and a race at the same time. Let's get the best of both worlds. Why not? Keeps it interesting on track. Keeps it interesting for the drivers as well. So just 10 minutes is now remaining in this race. And Thomas Straubing still wears the number 1 medal. And also top step of the podium. Looking also at that pole position for the second race. Out the pit lane, there goes the number 10 of Nicholas Schaffler. So Nicholas Schaffler pulls out the pit lane now. He'll be, once again, as mentioned, on a fresh set of tyres, as he will be looking to carve his way through the field. Actually, not carve his way through the field, but find himself some open air in the field to try and get a clear lap if possible. Down the home straight we go. Drivers completely mixing up the order from a spectator's standpoint in the grandstands. Your head would be completely muddled up right now and so is the order on circuit. You're looking at the left and you can see the gaps between the drivers. Let's just ignore the gaps from anything 10th downwards, pretty much. The number 9 of René Lammers will pull out of the pit lane now, as he's given up on his race and will now search for that fastest lap. Fastest lap, it's currently held by Renault Franco. So Renault Franco, who we saw pull into the pit lane earlier on to quote-unquote retire from the race, has now rejoined the circuit and has the fastest lap of the race. So Renault Franco, his race might already be out the window here for race 1, but for race 2, he's putting himself in the prime position. Up at the front end, the order isn't changing. Let's see. Oh, that's one car. Maybe getting a little too trigger happy on the accelerator out of the final corner and taking the scenic route into the gravel trap. Luckily, not finding the wall on the other side of the pits. We saw a scary incident earlier on in the Euro Cup 3 campaign where Alexander Abkazava caught the gravel out of the final corner and was then just a passenger to his car, flying to the other side of the pit wall and going rear first, completely making a mess of his car. Luckily, he was able to jump out of that car, walk away from it completely unscathed, and that is the most important thing. There's our 2 race leaders. Ian Eichmann's not too far behind when you think about it. There is a lot of traffic, which these 2 in front will be facing of Thomas Straubing and Jan Periowski. Ian Eichmann's will be watching long in 3rd position right now, begging that they get held up by a back marker. But still circulating round. The camera operators here doing a great job at still finding the battles on the circuit, as it's so hard to identify the drivers with everyone being so mixed up on the circuit. A lock up there from Miguel Costa, as Costa finds the brakes a little bit too late, and a puff of smoke comes off the rear of his Campos racing machine. Christopher Fagali in his Drive X car Red Bull Junior colours has been ferocious this race, I think it's fair to say, as he was cutting up the field a little bit earlier on, and he did a great job of it to promote himself into 5th. Noah Montero is in behind him, then Nathan Tai, Hudson Schwartz, Philip Carras and Juan Cota are your top 10 for the time being. Those are the drivers that will be taking home championship points at the end of this race if it finishes the way that it is. Outside of the top 10 though, they're having their own little race. Well, not a race, but a qualifying session. As from 11th downwards, I'm sure are all searching for that fastest lap. And more importantly, the pole position for race 2 tomorrow. 5 minutes and 40 seconds ticking down on the clock. And that fastest lap still currently being held by Renault Franco. No one even being close to the lap time that has been set by Renault Franco. The fastest lap of the race so far, it's a 1:42.454, which was set by Renault Franco. There's only one other driver that's even in the 1:42s, and that is Thomas Straubing. Straubing, earlier on in the race, set a 1:42.773. Other than that, it's 1:43s and 1:44s across the board. So Straubing and Renault Franco in a league of their own right now in terms of race pace. And although he hasn't boxed for a fresh set of tyres, Thomas Straubing, with the way that things are right now, will still be lining up on the front row of the grid, as he does have the 2nd fastest lap to his name. But Renault Franco trying to find the silver lining in this race, and that being the fastest lap in pole position. Momentarily, Jan Periowski looking like he would have had the fastest lap for this race. But Thomas Straubing said, no, no, no. I want to be dominant. He's looking for the win record. And he's looking to do it in style. At the end of this race, he would walk away with a grand total of 10 race victories in one season. So he's on good form to do so. And I don't see anything other than his fierce competitors that would stop the Belgian. His mindset is ferocious. He wants to win everything, and if he doesn't win everything, he's not satisfied. That is a true racing driver. So down the home straight we still go. Nathan Ty has just made his way past Christopher Fagali in the background. So off our picture, we saw a move there from the Rodin driver to get himself up into 6th now. So round the final couple of bends now. As we see there up at the front end, Thomas Strauven now leading by 2.6 seconds. So Jan Periowski dropping back a little bit now. Maybe dropping back, trying to find some fresh air and trying to get a push lap in, as he will also be focusing on his starting position for the second race tomorrow. But out of turn 9, down towards turn 10, Ian Eichmann's getting ever so closer to the back of Periowski. And then you've got Miguel Costa and Noah Montero. That is actually Nathan Ty. That looks to be on the rear end of Noah Montero now. So Nathan Ty, he's found a pace reserve there, has the number 46. As there's just 1 second that is now separating him and Noah Montero. Through our picture, that was a back marker there. That looked like that was going to be the number 70, I think. Yes, it was. That was Begonovic that made his way through the picture. Obviously separating the actual battles on the circuit. Down the home straight, kicking out a little bit there, was Miguel Costa. Costa having a sizable gap back to Noah Montero. Montero still under quite a bit of pressure from Ty. And with the clock timing down to 0 very shortly, the fastest lap, it still goes the way of Renault Franco. But in terms of the race victory, I can't see it going any other way than Strauven. But looking at the lap times that are being set in this race so far, it's still looking like Thomas Strauven's going to be second on the grid. And joining him on the second row of the grid, it may well be, once again, Jan Periowski will start from third. So the only driver upsetting the order for tomorrow will be Renault Franco. So Franco upsets the order. The Campos Racing drivers do manage to scramble for second and third on the starting grid. But in the dying embers now, the number 99, Thomas Strauven. It's 9 wins to his name so far and 16 podiums. Let's make that 10 and 17. He's had 16 top 5 finishes, 17 finishes in the top 5, in the top 10, sorry, and 0 DNFs to his name. How often do you see that from a racing driver? It's almost unheard of to have a driver that is that consistent in their results and that consistent in their racing ability as well, to not be having a DNF in a season. And Thomas Strauven, just a freak of nature, I think it's fair to say. As the clock now ticks down, 3, 2, and 1. We now find ourselves at 0. So next time that Thomas Strauven cuts the timing beam, we will be on the final lap of the race. And what a race it's been. We've had 2 dominant races so far today. The latter of being led by Thomas Strauven. Strauven, he's been so good this season. He has an average finishing position of 4th on the field. And very nearly having an average finishing position of 3rd. Which is crazy to say out loud. That almost in every single race, Thomas Strauven is looking at a podium finish. Well, to be fair to him, he does have an average finishing position of 3.9. Now, for conversational purposes, we will round that up to 4th. But you could also argue, if you want to round it down, he has an average finishing position on the podium. But he rounds turn 13 now. Down through 14 we go. As Thomas Straubing will make his way onto a celebratory lap of what has been a dominant victory. 5.3 seconds back to his teammate of Jan Peryovsky. Peryovsky earlier on in the race was able to latch on to the back of his teammate's car. It was teetering at about 5 or 6 tenths between the two of them. And ever since then, Straubing clearly feels that he is the most dominant out of the two, and proving so with race pace and race form. As out in front, he has checked out and departed. This race is signed, sealed, and delivered by Thomas Straubing. And this is exactly what he wants, to bow out on a high of the season. He already has won the championship. But as Alex Garcia, our pit lane reporter, mentioned earlier on, he wants to win everything. And he wouldn't be happy with anything else. Up through 7 and 8 we go now. Through the S's. And towards turn 9, where the drivers are right on the edge of their seat. Not pushing it too hard this time, though. We'll see. Thomas Straubing, does he let off a little bit? Yes, not quite on the edge that we've seen a few laps ago. But just taking it easy to the line. You could say it's a Sunday drive when it's only Saturday. He cruises that machine across the line, not wanting any extra wear, not wanting to risk any damage. He's got a heavy head on his shoulders, and he's a smart and calculated driver, and that's what it takes to be a winner in Spanish F4. 9 times before, let's make it double digits. Thomas Straubing crosses the line to have a grand total of 10 race victories this season. The number 99 makes it double digits in the first race of the weekend. And with it being grey clouds above, Thomas Straubing is still shooting to the stars. Although it may feel like a spotlight is on him and the sun is shining upon his head. That is what I call pure racing dominance. And Thomas Straubing, I'm going to say it now, he is a very, very special talent out there on the track. And he has been throughout his whole racing career. There's been no stopping, I want to say this man, but he's still only 17 years old. Although he's only 17, he is wise beyond his age in terms of his race pace and race craft as well. As all the way through his karting career as well, he's had glimpses of victory in single-seaters. He now finds his space. Obviously, this being his second year in single-seaters in the Spanish F4 Championship as well. His victories pan all the way back to years such as 2018 and also 2019, where he won in karting the Rotax Max International Trophy at Le Mans. And that is a moment where many people in the racing paddock looked at this young man and knew he was something special. In 2020, he won the Belgian BMC Championship. 2021, he was Vice European Champion in Miami Euro Series and also second at the iGames in Portimao. From there on, he has been non-stop on the top of the podium. The Spanish F4 grid would not feel the same without seeing Thomas Straubing on the podium at least once in a weekend. As we tour back to the pit lane, filing in we go now. We will soon get the celebration started, and Thomas Straubing, I think it's fair to say he can already start celebrating because the championship's already been wrapped up. He now has 10 race victories this season. And everybody, family, friends, himself, I'm sure will be elated with this victory. our top 3 file off into the pit lane. That is Thomas Straubing from Jan Periowski and Ian Eichmann's coming home in 4th. 5th place was Miguel Costa from Noah Montero and Nathan Ty in 6th. Hudson Schwartz and Christopher Fagali in 8th from Philip Carras and Juan Cota rounding out the top 10. Fiorentino was best of the rest in the 11th from Mickey Blaskos from Monlau Motorsport. Emma Felbermeyer in 13th. Then Kai Higgins and Grotta in 15th. Now in terms of the fastest laps as well, and our starting grid for tomorrow's race 2, it's going to be Renault Franco on pole position as he set the fastest lap with a 1:42.454. A number 11, clearly showing that he had the pace to be up at the front end. Will it not be the issue that he had earlier on and the battles that he got caught up in? But a W on the symbol, a W in celebrations, and a W on the track for Thomas Straubing. He'll walk over and embrace his team, family and friends as well. The number 1 board is handed to them as the team will position themselves in front of the cars. We were talking about the team championship earlier on, and we do have confirmation that Griffin Core are your 2025 Spanish F4 team champions. And those 2 men had a great deal to play in it. Thomas Straubing and Jan Periowski. Something to be proud of. The Griffin Core team will be elated, and so will everybody involved. Thomas Straubing, he'll get his equipment off there, and we'll very shortly hear from him with our pit lane reporter of Alex Garcia. But a 10th race victory and the potential of making it 12 with still 2 more races to go this weekend. He could make history and he could take home the title of most race victories in a season. But that all lies down to a little bit of luck and a lot of talent, which we at least know Thomas Straubing has the latter. The racing gear comes off and it's out of racing mode into media mode shortly, as photos will be taken, and Thomas Straubing will drink in the emotions after what has been a very long season. He'll try to run off, and it looks like he will just about escape out of the grasps of Alex Garcia, who's been sat there very patiently waiting in the corner of Parc Ferme, but may slip our leading driver this time. For the first time this season, Alex Garcia hasn't got the jump off the line that Straubing got for his race start. And Straubing is able to run away. He runs back down to Parc Ferme. Will we get a chat with him now? It looks like we possibly will. Alex Garcia is now down in Parc Ferme with our race victor 10 times this season now. Thomas Straubing is with Alex Garcia.
No, Kai, we were never going to miss Thomas Straubing because he is a man of his word. Yesterday, Thomas, you promised we would meet here, and you've made good on your word.
Yeah, here I am again. Yeah, overall, really good race, I think. Starting on pole. Weird qualifying. We didn't really have the qualifying because of some technical issue, but yeah, we did a good FP, so we started on pole, but yeah, it's all about managing on this track, really. Like the track is very demanding for the tire, so, and we also had to go for the fastest lap as well, because tomorrow the race 2 was gonna be with this decided by on this race, so it was hard to manage everything, but I think we did very well. There were people putting new tire. That's what it is. Like, we need to focusing on our own, and
P7 in the end. You're going to start race 2 tomorrow.
Yeah. So, but I think we managed everything very well with the tire degradation, but yeah, on to tomorrow now, and we start from P7 tomorrow, or P8, P7, and we'll see what we can do from there.
Team champions as well, so another goal accomplished, and that means there's only one goal left. 400 points, 401, let's say. How are you thinking about that? Possible? Not possible?
Well, everything is possible. We did a good start now by taking pole and the race win. But yeah, what a season it's been. Taking the Winter Series, the team championship, the actual championship. And yeah, I'm very happy with Griffin Core, and by Campus Racing, what they did throughout the season to help to get the car on the best possible way. But yeah, let's see what we can do for tomorrow's 401 points.
Okay, Thomas, congratulations. And I have to ask you one last question. Promise for tomorrow? Is there one? Am I going to see you tomorrow?
I hope so. I think so. I think so, yes.
Good. Congratulations. Enjoy the podium and enjoy the win.
Thank you so much.
As you can see, a man of his word. He promised he would be on the podium. He promised we would meet here with a race win. He made good on his word. He took that 10th race win. And there might be more to come tomorrow. But of course, first of all, there's this, let's say, odd qualifying session that we had today on this race one. So a little bit of an odd starting order for tomorrow. We'll have time to check that out tomorrow morning. And well, that, Kai, will set us for a fantastic race to start the day in Formula 4. And I think that always gives us a good reason to be excited for Sunday.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned there, Alex, obviously starting P7 for tomorrow's race, but Thomas Straubing, up until those final couple of laps, when the final fastest laps were coming in, Straubing was still looking set to start on the front row of the grid, and that's even with other drivers putting on fresh tyres and fresh rubber to try and get that fastest lap. I think that just shows what kind of level he is on.
That was impressive, to be honest, because after a few laps with new tyres, he was...
And unfortunately, it looks like
drivers
we've had some
only have one or two laps of that.
Alex, do we have you there?
So I was mentioning, Kai, that was pretty impressive. That was pretty impressive, especially... That was pretty impressive. Kai was saying, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but seeing Thomas Straubing managing those tires, he was saying this himself and how he was driving with speed until the end after a whole race distance, even when the other drivers were driving with much fresher tires. That was really, really good, and it shows not just his consistency, but his ability to keep the car to its best conditions right until the end. So. 7th place may not look and may not sound like a fantastic starting position, but all things considered, with more than half of the grid on a pit stop strategy, let's say, that is actually really, really good.
Alex, thank you very much once again, and apologies for any technical difficulties there when we were chatting with Alex. It's a live broadcast, things can go wrong, and especially with some great podium celebrations going on now. Ian Eichmans has just been welcomed to the podium, and also a representative from Griffin Core by Campos Racing. Second on the podium was Jan Piriowski, but for the 10th time this season, out onto the podium he comes. It's the number 99 of Thomas Straubing, and with two Belgians on the podium, one being the winner, we get ready for what is going to be the Belgian national anthem. A national anthem that I'm sure we will hear time and time again whenever Thomas Straubing is competing out on the circuit. Now it is time for the trophies and awards to also be handed out to the top three and the team representative for Griffin Core by Campos Racing. They already have the number one board to secure themselves as the champion. A number one trophy handing to the representative because of that race victory from Thomas Straubing. But third place in that race, Ian Eichmans showed a great amount of pace, but wasn't quite enough to catch on to the top two. He had a lot to deal with down into turn one, so third position, still a great result from Eichmans. Second place in that race, Jan Piriowski, early on it looked like he was going to contend with his teammate of Straubing as he was hanging on to the rear end of the number 99, but it was only one man that could win it all, and it was once again the Belgian sensation of Thomas Straubing. So Thomas Straubing is awarded his number 1 trophy. All of the drivers and the team representative as well for Griffincourt by Campos Racing will get themselves onto the top step of the podium for some photos to be taken before the real celebrations take place. And that's what the drivers will have been waiting for. Get the photos out of the way and get the bottles open. Thomas Straubing wasting no time to spray his team representative as they try to chase him away. And there is no avoiding that. I'm sure he may walk away a little bit sticky and covered in champagne, but a smile still on his face. He will not complain with that at all, as Griffincourt Campos have been able to wrap up the team's championship. Drivers' championship, team's championship. What a season for them in Spanish F4. But with that being the end of race 1 and the podium concluded, that was your top 3. Eichmann, Piriowski and Straubing. A very different race tomorrow, though. That grid position was decided in the race today, and it will be René Lammers. Sorry, yes, no, it won't. It will be Renault Franco that will be starting on pole position for that race tomorrow. So let's see what he is able to do from pole. Well, that rounds it out for the first day of action here at the finale round of Spanish F4. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for 2 more races packed full of racing action.